Good morning, Bitcoiners. It is Daniel from the Bitcoin Citadel with today's episode of the Citadel Summer, the penultimate episode. That means the second to last one. And today I'm going to talk about a Bitcoin meme that I love and I hate, touch grass. And this Citadel Summer has been about making a video every day about Bitcoin out here at the lake. It's a beautiful lake. A couple times I didn't do it from the lake because I was on the road, but I still posted a video every day, and that's cool. And I think I was using the Alex Hormozi philosophy of make a pot every day, and your pots are going to get better and better. So make a video every day. Hopefully my videos have gotten better and better. I am a firm believer in the philosophy of tell the truth, be yourself, post content for YouTube, and that's what I've been doing. But not only that, because part of Citadel Summer has been coming out to this beautiful lake every morning, and I do a cold plunge in the water. Sometimes in the middle of the summer the water wasn't so cold, but I do have a spot where the water is cold. So on the days when the water isn't as cold, I would go over there. Awesome. So cold plunge every morning. I have a exercise routine I do to get grounded and get my body going. So it wasn't just about making Bitcoin videos. It was also, I think, would fall into the category of what Bitcoiners would call touching grass, right? And what touch grass means, I think, is for all of us Bitcoiners who are computer people, right? A lot of Bitcoiners are still people who sit in front of a computer, and a lot of people's jobs, in the United States at least, are what we call laptop jobs, where you sit in front of a computer screen and you derive your income. The value you provide is by doing something that requires sitting in front of a computer screen for long hours every day. And that's your job, right? There's different ways of sitting in front of a computer screen and making money, but a lot of folks do it, right? And Bitcoiners have come to the realization that sitting in front of a computer screen in a fluorescent or LED lit environment indoors all day long is not a great way to be healthy long term. And if you're going to have Bitcoin, which is a money that will store your time and energy into the future, you also want to be healthy to enjoy that wealth that you're storing into the future, right? So, touch grass, Bitcoin meme. Another Bitcoin meme is, I like the seed oil disrespecter meme, and that's a good one too, because I think processed seed oils are not a great way to feed yourself. So I like those memes. I think they're a little bit oversimplified, but it points Bitcoiners in the right direction. So here I am. There's not much grass around where I am right now, but I'm outside, getting grounded in the morning sunlight, which I think is super important for people. If you're one of those people who stays up super late at night, in front of your screens, doesn't get up until later in the day, try getting up for the sunrise every morning for a month, right? Do your own little Citadel summer style experiment. Go to bed early enough in a dark bedroom, turn off your screens before you go to sleep, and get up and get outside for the sunrise, kind of get grounded and see the sunrise with no sunglasses or glasses on. See how that changes your life. That'll be a good experiment. That'll be a project for some people if you want to try that. Just that. What else? Touch grass, Bitcoin. Oh, I wanted to talk about when I was first starting to get into Bitcoin, and I've told the stories about how I got into Bitcoin before, but one of the guys that was instrumental in me embracing Bitcoin and understanding it was Dr. Jack Cruz, pleb Cruz on X. And I kind of came at it, as I've said before, from the health side, I think all Bitcoiners have to know that the system is rigged, right? You're skeptical, you become untrustful of some part of the system that we have in place now, whether it's the money, the medical system, whatever it is. And by being able to see the enormity of that part of the system, the big lie, of that part, the veil parts, and you can, that's the entry point into Bitcoin. People who trust the system, they don't get into Bitcoin. Doesn't matter how smart they are, right? They simply have a harder time with it. So that's how I got into Bitcoin, and I was a fan of Jack Kruse, and I was getting into Bitcoin at the same time. And I was on what was the name of that platform? Clubhouse, right? I don't know if Clubhouse is still around or not, but back in the day, 4 or 5 years ago, Clubhouse was a big deal. And a lot of Bitcoiners were on Clubhouse talking about Bitcoin. And Jack got me into Clubhouse. And I remember one time I was on Clubhouse, and American HODL was the host, I believe. And Jack was one of the people who was on stage. And Jack has his whole thing about circadian biology, quantum biology, getting out in the sun. He's very skeptical about centralized medicine. And he was going into his pitch about trying to get Bitcoiners to understand this concept of decentralized medicine and his kind of circadian biology. And American HODL, who I think has some really good ideas. His whole thing about you're not stacking hard enough, I think that's a really cool video. The memes around that, his idea of that is great. But Jack is a guy who knows a lot about health. You might not agree with Jack. You might think he's too harsh. A lot of people say he's an asshole. He's just a hardcore dude. He's a savage, right? So he comes on there and he's starting to talk about his ideas about health. And he's one of the guys who knows a lot about it, right? And American HODL, whose claim to fame on health is his wife is a nurse, I think, or something like that. And that's how he knows everything there is to know about health. Shut Jack down. Jack's going into his pitch. American HODL is that's a bunch of bullshit. The sun, how's the sun gonna cure you? Jack hadn't even really got his pitch going yet. He was trying to make his pitch. And American HODL was, what you're saying is bullshit. That does not make any sense. Basically calling Jack a fraud, right? Saying he was a snake oil salesman. That's basically what he was saying, which is, that's just simply, not true. You might not agree with what Jack Kruse has to say about health, but Jack Kruse knows a lot about it. He's a super smart dude, and he's, taken a deep dive into it, even to the point of, the most scientific research. He knows all about that stuff. And to have some guy, some blowhard, in this case, he was being a blowhard, like American HODL, just shut him down as if he was the expert on health. That shows me what some Bitcoiners, the mindset that some Bitcoiners are in about this part of it. We're right about Bitcoin. That doesn't mean we're right about everything. So my advice to you, and I don't like to give advice, but my advice to you is, keep your mind open. Get away from the screens whenever you can, right? Don't stay up late at night. Try to get up and see the sunrise. It's a little early for sunrise now. Summer's over, man. Well, it's coming to an end anyway. The sun's coming up later and later every morning. So I come out here and I don't get to see the sunrise every morning anymore. I'm pre-sunrise. Do your own, I was going to say do your own research, but you're not a researcher. You're just some guy or gal, right? Take a chance on things. Do stuff like I came out here and did this summer, right? Say, I'm going to do sunrises for a month and see how that affects my health. I'm going to do an exercise routine for a month and see how that affects my health, right? That's what you should do. That's my advice. Trust yourself. Do the work. That's one of the things about Bitcoin I love. It's about proof of work. You can't just read about something, you know? Bitcoin is about doing things, right? And then seeing the result. You make a prediction, you do the work, you see the result, you iterate, and you keep on moving forward like that, right? So that's kind of the part of Citadel Summer, was this whole thing about getting up every morning, making a video, you know, being out here in nature, right? Doing a hike, because it's a hike to get out here. So I do a big hike out here. I come out here every morning. I have my spot. I make my video. I do my routine, you know, with the sunrise, with the cold plunge. Doesn't matter, like it's like 40 degrees this morning, right? I'll still go do my cold plunge this morning. Doesn't matter what the temperature is. It doesn't matter how I feel when I wake up, you know, I'm gonna put the work in and see where that gets me. And that's where I am. And I think it's been a great summer for me. I'm so happy I decided to do this project. I don't know what the next project will be yet. I have some ideas in the back of my head, but I'll still be posting videos to YouTube. On this channel, I have some ideas. Tomorrow is going to be the last show in this series. And I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a kind of a recap show about what I've learned and kind of some of the funny things that have happened to me out here in the mornings, because some funny things have happened. You know, there's been some weird stuff, some cool things, just some stuff that's happened out here every morning when I come out and make my videos. So I'll share some of those stories, and maybe a little bit of reflection on the project and the summer, and maybe look forward, a little preview of coming attractions, because this is about Bitcoin Citadels. You know, it's not just about this project. This project was actually me trying to be someone who can create content on YouTube, because I think every company is a media company these days, and I wanted to get some chops together as a media producer. And I think I've made some progress there, but it is also about my company, Bitcoin Citadel, and about Citadels in general. So we'll see what happens next. I think I will continue to create content, not every single day like I've been doing this summer, but I'll continue to create content and post videos. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. I will talk to you tomorrow. After that, we'll see what happens. But I will talk to you tomorrow. Peace.